Hello everyone. I'm going to show you how to prepare your homework for submission to Canvas. Each homework assignment will have questions, and each question is called a program set. The rubric for grading will be given in each homework assignment. The general rubric is the same for all homework assignment, but each program set may have an extra rubric. So let's take a look at a sample program set that is one question, and you completed that program. In that particular program, or each program that you are ready to submit, you must have this heading or titling. You must have your student name, your student ID, homework assignment 1 or 2 or 3, and the question. We call that program set. So this is question number 1, so therefore we call it program set 1. And give me a short description of what this means. Now if you don't have this title, points will be deducted. Here's the complete program. Each section of code, you must give me a little comment. For example, this section here is data and input. The next section here, I put a comment and let the user know this is processing and calculations. And then this is the output. So this whole section is for output. And the last section here, I put a comment to let the programmer knows this is to stop the program. Now you also need to have a blank line before you start a new section of code. If you don't have a blank line, if you do this, points will be deducted for each occurrence of not doing it correctly. So there's 1, 2, 3 lines missing, so 3 points will be taken out. So well, it depends on the rubric. So make sure you put the blank space. If not, points will be taken out. So comments, if you don't have them for each section of code, points also will be taken out. Next thing you need to know is do not name your variable names A, B, and C. You should use mnemonic or something that's descriptive. For example, in our case, we call this num1, num2, and num3. If you use A, B, or C single characters for your variable name, points will also be deducted for each one that you use. And so make sure you don't do that. And then the test runs, we have also looked at that in lesson 4. We're going to have 5 test runs for each program set you submit. So what a test run means is you run the program one time, and that's one test run, and then you type in your inputs, and then it will print the output out, and that's one test run. Copy and paste it onto here, start a new one, run the program again, and then copy and paste until you have 5 test runs using the numbers to your own numbers or your own values to input and test them. When I run your program, I will be using my own test cases to test whether your program actually runs correctly or not. Alright, let's take a look at homework 1. so that we can use that as an example. It says here each program set must have your student name, so we're talking about this portion of it. Student ID, program set right here, and your late homework will not be accepted for whatever reasons you may have. So you're not there'll be a deadline for each homework assignment, and I will not accept any late homework. For this homework, you have to submit your program sets to Canvas under Homework 1 link. The link will be available when I post the homework question, and at the bottom you will see a link to upload. So this is the way you name your file: homework 1 underscore ps1 underscore your last name underscore your first initial, and Python will automatically save this as a .py file, so you don't have to worry about the .py, but you have to make sure that it has a .py at the back. So this is for program set 1, and then of course for program set 2 you just change the 1 to a 2 for this homework 1. So suppose your name is Joe Smith, then your file name will be homework 1 ps1 for program set 1. Smith is the last name, underscore J for Joe. So here talks about the upload link. Once the deadline is passed, the upload link will be closed and you will not be able to upload. Now make sure you name your file correctly as stated in item number A, because if you don't, then when I batch run your codes, and it will get lost, and I would have no idea whose file it is, and you will get a 0 for it. Now formatting your output properly, I will give you sample or specification of the output and how it looks like. But all your dollar amounts, that means money, must always end with a 2 decimal places. So make sure you check your output values are correct. It means check your calculations. Use a calculator to check. For each homework, you're supposed to use the, I quote, tools, basically the topics that we learn. So for homework 1, which is for week 1 and week 2 only, you're not allowed to use loops or lists or if statements. If you use loops, lists, or if statements, you will get a 0. Here is number 4. You should do your own work, and identical programs when submitted, both the students who submit the identical program will get a 0. Let's look at grading. This is the general rubric for grading every single homework assignment. Each program set must run correctly, both syntactically, logically, and display the correct output as specified, which means your program must run perfectly as specified in the question. If the program set does not run, a 0 will be given, which means when I test your program and it failed to run for whatever reason, or your output doesn't look exactly like the output I've provided for you, then your program does not run and you will get a 0. So now if your program runs properly, you have your proper syntax, your logic, and displays the correct output with the proper formatting as specified. Alright, so if your program runs and your output doesn't look the same, or it looks horribly out of place, that means I show you alignment and there is no alignment, or right justified, then you will also get a 0. But if you have fulfilled all the requirements, then you will receive the full points for that question. Then we will start to deduct points. So if you don't have comments, for example, like this and this, I will deduct a point for each one without a comment. So you don't have to provide a lot of comments. All I need is, before you start a section of codes, just write data and input. If you have calculation, put this and then output. So at least comment out a section of code so that people can understand what your program is all about. Next part here, consistency and readability. Spacing, line spacing here. And then indentation. Now in this first homework, there is no indentation, so you don't have to worry. Proper naming of variable names. So don't use A, B, or C. Use something descriptive and mnemonic. We have discussed that in the first week, what mnemonic means. So for example, if you have accounts payable, you would name it like this, and that is acceptable. ACCT underscore PAY. That's descriptive, and it is mnemonic. Required elements. Use only tools or the topics that we have covered in class. For example, in this topic, we have not covered loops or list or if statements. So if you do use those, you will receive a 0. But we did cover how to format an output. So you will have to know how to do that. And all your monetary values must be in 2 decimal places. So if you don't do that, then for each infraction, I will deduct 2 points. Output. You must provide 5 test runs, or your program set will have a 0 score. So for have a complete program, you have your program listing, and you must have 5 test runs, and it has to run perfectly. So it's to be displayed at the end of the program listing, which is your codes, must have at least 5 test runs. So here's your listing, and here are your 5 test runs. Make sure you comment them out. If you don't comment them out, when I batch run your program, it will fail to run, and it will report as failed. Your program failed to run. So make sure you comment all your test runs, the output. Must use the data for test runs when they are provided for you in the question. So if I provided you with some data, you must use my data, and then you would use your own data to complete the test runs. So must have at least 5 test runs. I will call this runs. Let me change this. Of your own, if the question does not provide any. So points will be deducted from items A to D above until your program set reaches 0 points. So if your program runs perfectly, you provided the correct output, you get the perfect score. So suppose the perfect score for question number 1 is 10 points, and you'll be given 10 points. And then I will review your codes to deduct points from A to D. So let's look at program set 1, so you have an idea of how it looks like. So here's program set 1 is 10 points, and it says write a program to compute the loan amount, its monthly payment and total payment, and the program will ask the user for the annual interest rate and the number of years. I provided you 3 formulas so you can work with it. And here is a sample run. So the user input is in blue, and this the first 3 enter statements or input statements. So you have to show exactly the same. You must say enter annual interest rate, comma, example 7.25, colon, and then the user will type in 4.5 and do the same for this string and the next one for your input statement. And then you have to have a blank line before you print the monthly payment is the results and the total payment is the result. This is test run number 1. So use the data I've provided for you to run test number 1 so that you have an idea whether your answer is correct or not. So the other way to check answers for amortization table is to go online and look for an amortization calculator to verify your answers. Because using a calculator might be a little bit much here to do this. So go online and look for an amortization calculator, plug in the values like this, and it should give you your monthly payment and your total payment. Let's look at program set number 2. It says a stock transaction program. Last month, Cool Dude purchased some stocks from Kaplak Inc. Write a program that asks the user to input the followings. So these are the 5 things I'm asking you to have user input. And then you will do the calculations and then output the information. So the amount of money Cool Dude paid for the stock, this is amount of stock paid, is the number of shares bought times the purchase price. So here are the formulas for all this things that you need to calculate. Then this is what the sample run looks like. This is the input. Oh no, this is not the input. This is one section of the codes or the output, and these are the specifications. So this part here, this whole thing here, is actually this. It means the same thing, except that I break it down so that you can see that this is what I really needed. So there are going to be 10 blank space before the dollar sign, and then after the dollar sign to the end of your decimal points, there are 13 columns. So I give you a hint, use the dot format to specify the number of column width and 2 decimal places. You must align all these zeros at the back to be right justified. Therefore you use your column width. So let's run the first sample run. So Kaplak, enter the stock name, let's say Kaplak. Enter number of shares, 10,000, purchase price, and this, and you should come out with this output. Then when you're done, copy and paste onto the program and comment it out, and then run second time. This time try another stock name. Let's try IBM, give it a different share. So I have this for you. You can use the same number here and it should produce this result. And now you run test 3, 4, and 5 and then paste them all here at the bottom. So right now I'm going to show you an example of how to do this. I believe this is also done on lesson number 4. Now suppose I have this program already. Now I already have these 5 test runs there. I'm going to show you one more time how to put the test runs here. So assume that these don't exist. And now I have a clean program ready to run. So I'm going to run this. Run the module. Now I'm going to ask me to save this. So what is the file name that I have to save it on? So let's check. Homework 1 PS1 last name first initial. So I'm going to save it as homework 1 underscore PS1 underscore Smith underscore J, and this program is saved correctly. So now what's your name? Let's call this Joe Smith, number 110, 20, and 30. Now I have the data here. All I do is copy this, Control C, Control V, put here as test run number 1, highlight the whole thing, format, comment out the region. Now I have one test run. Let's run this one more time. Let's call this Sam Smith. Oops. I forgot to hit the quit button. Let's run this again. So Sam Smith. Then I'm going to have 30, 35, and 60. Hit that. The problem is the last time I forgot to hit this quit because the program was still running. Copy it. So now let me hit the quit button, and that's what happened. I forgot to do that. So now I'm going to copy this over here to the bottom of the first test run. Call this test run 2, and now I can highlight and format it and comment it. Now remember to save, and now I have a complete program. Now I will upload this program to the link, so which is going to be, so I placed it in this folder, and you will upload this file to the link. So I hope this will give you an idea of how you should prepare your program set to upload. Now there are 2 program set, so you will have 2 files, .py file to upload, and Canvas will allow you to upload as many files as you like. So upload this for the PS1, and you have a PS2 for homework 1, just go and upload it. Then you have 2 files uploaded. Now what happened if you uploaded a file and you realize that you made a mistake? Not to worry, fix your problem. Do not change the file name if it is homework1 underscore PS1 underscore Smith underscore J. Leave it as it is and upload. Canvas will automatically assign a version number. For example, version 1, version 2, version 3. And what I'll do is I will only grade your version which is the highest number on it, which means the version number with the highest number, that will be the file I would grade. I will not grade anything lower than the highest version number. Alright, so hopefully this will help explain how to submit your homework.